So the USC football team has made it to Texas without any airport delays, which means they are now locked on to the two-lane green wave coming up in the Cotton Bowl. I have some notes and quotes coming up on this episode of Locked On USC.
You are Locked On Trojans, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Fight on, everyone. I am your host, Marc Culkin, and thank you for making Locked On USC your first listen every day. Whether you like to watch on YouTube or wherever you like to download your podcast, we are free, and I want to thank everyone for coming along for the ride. Hope you're enjoying the show. If you are watching on YouTube and you haven't done so already, do me a favor, hit that red subscribe button. It would mean a whole heck of a lot. And as always, to those of you who have, thank you. Right on. All right. So the number 8 ranked USC football team, 11-2. They're going to face the number 14th ranked Tulane Green Wave, also 11-2, in the 87th Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic. It's going to be played at Jerry World, AT&T Stadium, Arlington, Texas. That's 12 p.m. local time in Dallas, Central Time. 10 a.m. in LA, West Coast time. So breakfast, brunch with the bowl game. How's that sound, Trojan fans? As I mentioned, USC 8th ranked in the AP poll, as well as the coaches poll. Tulane is number 14 in the AP, 17 in the coaches poll. And then if we want to use the real rankings, the ones that actually matter, that mean something, USC is number 10, Tulane is number 16. So I point that out strictly because it's interesting which rankings USC is highlighting at this moment. They're using the AP coaching, the AP poll and the coaches poll to highlight USC's higher ranking. Because I point that out because once the college football playoff poll was released in October, the AP poll basically slides behind. It's like second tier. So now that USC is out of the playoffs, USC is like, hey, let's use the AP ranking because it gives them the higher ranking. And again, the game matters, but again, because the college football playoffs is what everybody's striving for, this is another reason why the game itself is meaningless. And for those of you who aren't watching on YouTube, I was using finger quotes around meaningless. This is going to be USC's 3rd appearance in the Cotton Bowl. For some of you old enough to remember, 1994 was the first time when USC and Keyshawn Johnson, who went on to be the number 1 overall draft pick, they beat up on Texas Tech 55-14. That was back in 1995. And then back in 2017, I'm sure everybody remembers, number 8 USC, bringing that number up, they fell to number 5 Ohio State, 24-7 in the Cotton Bowl. 2017 Cotton Bowl. That was a really weird game. USC moved the ball. I mean, they actually outgained Ohio State, but they were also sacked 8 times, and they just couldn't punch the ball in the end zone. Deontay Burnett set a Cotton Bowl record, 12 receptions, 139 yards. Tyler Vaughn's had a pretty good game, 6 for 119. And that win for Ohio State, that was their first one over USC in 8 tries, because that snapped a 7-game winning streak that USC had held over their soon-to-be Big Ten Conference brothers. 2024, that's when USC makes the move over to the big conference. So again, despite that 24-7 score, it was a weird game. It wasn't as close As the score indicated, as I mentioned, USC moved the ball offensively. They had 413 yards. Ohio State only gained 277. They had 81. They ran 81 offensive plays to 55, and they had more first downs, 10 more first downs than Ohio State, 23-13. And they controlled the ball for almost 35 minutes, 34.56. So again, just a really odd ball game. It was a frustrating. I guess the best way to describe it would be frustrating, and that's, I guess, maybe the best way to describe the Clay Helton era. It was frustrating. There were times where, hey, you showed signs of growth, development, and what could possibly be, and then you just saw a backslide. Anyways, so this is going to be not only, well, I mentioned this is the third time USC has played 3 times in the Cotton Bowl. This will be the third time that USC is actually playing in AT&T Stadium. So besides the 2017 Cotton Bowl loss to Ohio State, the year before that, they got their butts handed to them by Alabama 52-6. So let's see if USC can break the 3-game losing streak in Arlington, Texas, and get a win, right? Overall, USC is 9-7 in games that are played in the state of Texas. So they're 2-1 at Texas, 2-0 against Texas Tech, one of them being in Lubbock, the other being in Cotton Bowl, 1-1 versus Baylor, 1-0 each versus A&M in the Blue Bonnet Bowl. I remember that game way back when, as well as Houston. Excuse me. Rice, SMU, and Houston, 0-1 versus Michigan State in the John Hancock Bowl, as well as TCU in the Sun Bowl. Georgia Tech in the Sun Bowl, and they're 0-2 in AT&T Stadium. So, yeah. You guys might remember the loss to Georgia Tech in the Sun Bowl. Coach Lane Kiffin at the time wearing sunglasses. Yeah, there was a little bit of turmoil for that game. Anyways, as far as USC and Tulane, this is going to be the first time in 76 years that these two teams have faced off against one another. USC played Tulane in 1931, 1942, and 1946, and USC holds a 2-1 record versus Tulane. Their biggest win is with Howard Jones against Tulane in the Rose Bowl, the 1932 Rose Bowl, where they won their second national championship, 1928 being their first. Let's see. Oh, since this will be the final game of the 2022 season, USC is 70, 48, and 11 in their final games of this season. The reason I brought it up, I said 70, 40, and 11. Some people like to use their vacated win that they had to give up. Homie, don't play that. The game was played. I don't look into vacated wins. USC is 70, 48, and 11 in their final game of the season. With an 11-2 overall mark in 2022, USC is actually going to be pursuing their 7th 12-win season. Again, screw the NCAA and your vacated victories. 2004 and 2005 count just as much as 1972, 1978, 2003, and the 2008 seasons when USC had 12 wins. And this will be just the 4th time that USC is going to be playing 14 games in the season. They did that back in 2013 when they went 10-4, 2015 when they finished 8-6, 2017, 11-3. So, conference championship game, if you're playing Hawaii, you get those extra games, figure it out. And let's see, USC, this game is going to be being played on a Monday, January 2nd. USC is 18-12 on Mondays, and that includes 14-4 in bowl games. USC's last Monday game was that win over Penn State in the Rose Bowl, 52-49. Yes, that was pretty cool. So what else? Oh, USC has a 34-12 record, which is a 740 winning for 739 winning percentage, 28-11 in bowl games in the month of January. They get it done. Oh, here's a cool little note for you guys. Traveler, yes, USC's mascot, the beautiful white horse, is going to be making the trip. So it also made the trip in 1995 and the 2017 Cotton Bowl. The farthest Traveler has ever gone away from the LA Coliseum, the 2005 Orange Bowl against in Miami when USC. I think they beat up a team called Oklahoma. Yeah. As far as Tulane's bowl history, let's just throw this number out there. They are 6-8 overall in their bowl games. Their most recent bowl game was in 2020 when they lost in the Potato Bowl to Nevada, 38-27. Before that, in 2019, they won their bowl game in the Armed Forces Bowl against Southern Miss, 30-13. In 2021, they were a two-win team. USC was a 4-win team. Neither team played in a bowl game. All right. You want to get more news, notes, and other types of stuff about the Cotton Bowl? Head over to BetOnline.net. BetOnline.net is your number one source for sports betting information, stats, news, and analysis. You can get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from football to basketball to soccer and esports. We've got it all at BetOnline.net. And if you love sports podcasts, I know you do, you can find those over at BetOnline as well. We're always the fastest and easiest way to get your betting fix. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts. So as I mentioned at the very top of the show, USC arrived in Texas, and Coach Lincoln Riley and Nick Figueroa were the first to represent USC and meet with the media. So got some quotes for you from both of them. Kind of kickstart our way into the Cotton Bowl, what's going on, what those guys are feeling, hearing, seeing, talking about. And Coach Riley, his opening comment: "It's great to be here. It's a bowl that so many of us have so many fond memories, whether it's just growing up and watching this game, especially for me being from the state, and fourth time now at the Cotton Bowl, so blessed to be here. And we've used the opportunity to prep leading up to the start to educate our team on what playing in the Cotton Bowl really means. This is forever and ever one of the most iconic and most historic and one of the most important games in our sport." Interesting how Lincoln Riley is describing the Cotton Bowl. He's from the state of Texas. That's how most Trojan fans talk about reverence when you hear and talk about the Rose Bowl. The proximity, the tradition, what it means to USC. The Cotton Bowl means a lot to Lincoln Riley. He grew up in the state of Texas. The old Southwest Conference, the Big 8, Big 12, they have a similar tradition with the Cotton Bowl, the same type of tie-in that USC and the Pac-12 have with the Rose Bowl. So I totally understand where Lincoln Riley's coming from with his opening comments. And it's true. When you look, if you've been a bowl game for 87 years, you're doing something right, because bowl games come and go, but very few have the longevity of the Rose Bowl, the Cotton Bowl, the Sugar Bowl, the Orange Bowl, the New Year's Day bowls. Others, like I said, come and go. But, for people from the southwestern part of the state, of the country, the Cotton Bowl is their Rose Bowl. Where was I? Oh, so, and then basically the same question was asked of USC's defensive lineman, senior Nick Figueroa, who said, just really excited to be here. The team has been through a lot over the last few years. Guys who have been around, new guys too. Everyone has got their own story. I think to have an opportunity to play in a game like this, especially for guys like me in their final year, it's huge. And we just really appreciate it. And we're not going to take the opportunity for granted. Nick is one of the most introspective, well-spoken, mature players on the team. So he's going to always come at it from I guess from a hey, this is my last opportunity perspective, and this is his last time suiting up in Cardinal gold for USC. So I understand where Nick's coming from as well. He makes a great point about why this game matters and why it's not. Again, for those not watching, I'm using finger quotes. Why it's not meaningless. For some of these guys, and I just mentioned, this is going to be their last competitive football game because the NFL just isn't in their future. Whether that the NFL is in Nick's future, who knows? I know he's going to give it a go. But again, that's I think where the appreciation for playing every down as your last, because it could be your last. That's where Nick's coming from, and why the game matters, and why it's not meaningless. I know we can have a discussion on the word meaningless, and you know what? Each of us have an opinion, and neither opinion is wrong. Some of our opinions are just more right than others. Sarcasm. My mom used to always tell me, I may not always be right, but I'm never wrong. And that her point was, if you have an opinion, you're not wrong. There's very few opinions that are wrong. Very, very few. One of the reasons why USC is favored over Tulane, and this is something I wasn't aware of. And again, I really don't keep up with Oklahoma out of conference games, but Lincoln Riley has coached against Willie Fritz before, as well as Tulane. He was asked about, he said, Coach, you've had a great season. Tulane has also had a great season. Excuse me. When you look at Tulane and what you guys will face in January, on January 2nd, what comes to mind when you look at the team? Quote from Lincoln Riley, they're fantastic. Honestly, I got to coach against them against the first game last season. He's referring to 2021. So no surprise to see the job that they've done. Willie, one of the best coaches in the country, he's proved it over and over, and obviously done a phenomenal job with the group. The other thing that Riley pointed out, that I'm not going to read word for word each quote, was that the Tulane roster has some continuity to it. A lot of the guys that Tulane's bringing that will be playing in the Cotton Bowl have been around and been playing together for 3 or 4 years. That goes a long way for programs like Tulane, especially in the era of the transfer portal, where the group of 5 teams, they kind of get plucked apart. Teams like USC come and take the best players from teams like Tulane, Arizona, even though they're from the Pac-12, Washington State, those types of teams, Oregon State. The lower, if you're not a blue blood team, you're more apt to have players leaving to go join better teams. That's just a fact. That's just how it is today. Another thing Riley mentioned at this press conference, you've had bowl practices at USC versus here in Dallas now. Is it going to be more of a traditional game week now that you're here in the state? Coach Riley said, it will be. It will be. We've been able to get some good work, and a lot of the work was trying to work on ourselves and the areas we know we need to improve as a team. Cough, tackling, cough. That was for me. If I was in the audience, that's what he would have heard. Cough, tackling, cough. They were good. They were good, though. They were fun. They were really spirited, and looking forward to that continuing here in the state of Texas. But we will get a full game week and give us a chance to kind of get settled back into the routine that we know and expect that our team has a lot of confidence in. Excuse me. That was a real cough. At this point, there was a little bit of some levity that was brought into the conversation. The moderator asked, Nick, you were talking about this on the way in. You were looking forward to the trip, experience a few things. What kind of things will you enjoy here in Texas in your time here? So this is what Nick had to say. I grew up a big Dallas Cowboys fan. First thing, getting to go play in that stadium, practice in that stadium, that's a big deal to me. And WhattaBurger, of course, in and out, the rivalry, got to see it, got to see what it's about. Coach Riley slipped in a real quick wit, a little quick jab. That's a heated rivalry. Okay, I'm going to pretend I was part of this discussion. I'm going to end this discussion right now between WhattaBurger and In-N-Out. WhattaBurger, it's okay. It's kind of trash. It's a big bun and a thin burger. But their French fries are better than In-N-Outs. In-N-Outs are fresh, but if you don't eat them the second they hand them to you, because there's no preservatives, they're cold in 5 minutes. That's why French fries have preservatives at fast food restaurants, to keep them hot. Now, again, if you want a really good fresh burger, for me, give me Fat Burger or Tommy's. And don't at me on this because I've got way too many years invested into this. So, again, In-N-Out, WhattaBurger, who cares? They're great. They're good. In-N-Out is a step above WhattaBurger. WhattaBurger has better fries than In-N-Out. If you want better burgers, period, Fat Burger. They got better fries in both of those places because you get skinny or fat fries, which are basically steak fries. Tommy's, that is an LA icon, chili on their burgers. It's a mess. You stand up eating it. It's wonderful. All right. So back to Nick Figueroa and what he's looking forward to doing in Texas. He's also looking forward to going to Buc-ee's. Don't worry, USC fans. I had to look it up also. Buc-ee's is home to the world's largest convenience store, which is currently located in New Braunfels, Texas. And the size of this convenience store, 66,336 square feet. What else is Buc-ee's famous for? Something called beaver nuggets or sweet and salty corn puffs that can be found throughout the store. Buc-ee's is famous for the snack, which comes in a basic version or coated with chocolate, cheese, caramel, and sea salt, and much more. Apparently, there's not a lot to do in Texas. Back to football. Riley was asked, it's been a big layoff since you played your last game. How do you get the team refocused after a long break, after the holiday? What have you seen from the team in trying to get refocused and ready to go for this? Coach Riley, and you know what? He brings up a really good point. It's always, I wouldn't say it's a challenge, but it's just unique that no other sport you play games and then all of a sudden you have a month off, where you don't play a game. And luckily, this staff he's referring to, himself and the guys he brought along with him, they've been through this before. So I think it's been, for us, asking the team to do what they've done for the last 12 months, which is to trust us and let us lay out a direction, let us lay out a path that will help them be successful. And then let these guys and these guys have got to believe in it, and they've got to follow it. And when we do that, we've been pretty successful. And so we've laid out a path for them. that's led to success and opportunities that the staff has been at various spots. And it's going to be up to our team to go and embrace it. So basically, he's saying, we've asked the team to trust us since we've been here. We're asking them to trust us through this month of bowl preparation, and you're going to get a similar result. I guess we're going to find out. So, what else can we go here with quotes? Basically, playing in this stadium is a unique situation, no question. Big venue, yada yada. A lot of coach speak stuff goes on with these things. So that's pretty much where it ended. I will have more notes, quotes as they come along, as the week goes and we get closer to the Cotton Bowl. So, who will be the leading receiver for USC in the Cotton Bowl? Is it going to be Jordan Addison? Let me rephrase that. Without Jordan Addison playing, who will be the leading receiver? I'm going to give you two different scenarios. Again, give me your feedback. You tell me what you think. So if Caleb Williams is playing, starting, it's either going to be Taj Washington or Mario Williams. That's who I think. One of those two will be his leading receiver with Jordan Addison out. Now, if Miller Moss plays, I'm going with either Kyron Ware-Hudson or Kyle Ford. Why? It's going to be the same rationale for both quarterbacks. Comes down to two things: comfort level and timing. Who do these quarterbacks spend more time practice repping with? Precisely. Mario Williams, Jordan Addison, they tend to be more of first string, first up guys. Those are the guys that Caleb Williams is going to have more familiarity with. The same concept applies with Miller Moss, throwing the ball to Kyron and Kyle Ford. So, now with that said, watch. It'll be someone completely out of the blue, Michael Jackson III, or, here's what would be really cool: John Jackson. I need to see him have a moment where he catches a touchdown pass. Personal favorite of mine. I'm trying to remember the Trojan from back in the day. His very first, and I believe it was his only pass he caught, was a touchdown for USC back in 2015. Man, it was in the... It'll come to me, and I'll mention on another episode of Locked on USC. I apologize. It's just something that kind of popped into my head right now. Anyways, I want to see John Jackson III have a touchdown in the Cotton Bowl. Sentimental favorite for me. All right, that's another episode of Locked on USC in the books. And we come at you 5 times a week. So I want to thank you for that. Coming along. Don't forget to make Locked on Sports your second listen, because they have all of the late-breaking news on sports as well. You come here for your USC information, and when you want to get some good written content, head on over to wearesc.com. We still got that $10 annual subscription special going right now, and it'll take you all the way through the end of Fall Camp 2023. So jump on it. Myself, Eric McKinney, Scott Schrader, recruiting guru, Chris Arledge, Greg Katz. We got it all covered for you over there. So until our next episode, Trojan fans, you know what to do.